Purchase Program can be found on page 27, paragraph 50. This is what the IMF said. The Domestic Good Purchase Program weighed on the financial sustainability of the BOG. The DGPP, which is the short form of Domestic Good Purchase Program, on which the BOG relied to accumulate reserves to intermediate FX to the private sector, has generated losses of 22 billion, which is 1.5% of GDP in 2025. A government cost-sharing agreement at end 2025 involving the transfer of bonds with a par value of 5 billion cedis in March 2026 resulted in the breach of the ceiling on BOG claims on the central government and public entities at the end of December 2025 and end March 2026. In July 2026, the BOG Gold Board and the government signed a memorandum of understanding formalizing the transfer of the Domestic Gold Purchase Program activities from the BOG to Gold Board and eliminating related BOG quasi-fiscal risk. An external auditing firm is conducting a special audit of the Domestic Gold Purchase Program from its inception, and the inception is 2021, whose results should be available in 2026 Q3. Domestic Gold Purchase Program related losses coupled with high cost of OP market operations and exchange rate valuation losses resulting from CD appreciation worsened the BOG's negative equity position to 6.7% of GDP. This is all they said about Domestic Gold Purchase Program. Nowhere in this report is Gold Board accused as having caused any loss incurred by Bank of Ghana. The second and last is the IMF report on selected issues, which was published on the 4th of August. Paragraph 13 of that report speaks about the Domestic Gold Purchase Program. And that is what it says. DGPP operations have generated significant losses for BOG. Losses in 2024. So if you are watching me, you should be asking yourself whether there was Gold Board in 2024. Losses in 2024 were equivalent to almost $400 million, 0.5% of GDP, 1/3 of which were related to gold for oil. In 2025, the significant scaling up of domestic gold purchase operations led to losses of over $1.7 billion. So the IMF tells you what led to the losses. They are saying the significant scaling up of the program. It is there, black and white. Then, almost entirely related to G4R Dory purchases. This amounted to a loss of 17% of the value of Dory gold sold by the BOG. Losses accrued on gold trades are a combination of service. This was the only reference to the Gold Board here. So listen, losses accrued on gold trades are a combination of service and asset fees paid to Gold Board, discounts on gold sold to off-takers, and most importantly, exchange rate losses from the spread between Forest Bureau rates paid to purchase gold and the CD reference rate used for BOG accounting. Survey data suggests that Ghanaian ASGM prices are among the highest in the region. These accounting losses partly reflect valuation effects rather than economic cost. Blah, blah, blah. These are the relevant portions. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the words of the IMF. Not to suggest that the words of the IMF are sacrosanct, but it is important for us not to attribute to the IMF what they have not said. They have not said that the Gold Board is the one that caused the Bank of Ghana to lose $1.7 billion, as I have clearly demonstrated to you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, aside the fact that the new false narrative of Afenyo Makin grossly misrepresents the IMF's findings, I will demonstrate to you with facts and sound logical reasoning that fees paid to an agent by a principal based on a contract for agreed services cannot be reasonably said to be the reason for losses incurred by the principal. And that the IMF mischaracterized fees paid to the Gold Board as one of the components of losses incurred by the Bank of Ghana in 2025 under the domestic gold purchase program. I shall also demonstrate to you that the new false narrative of Afenyo and his followers that the gold board is to blame for losses incurred by the Bank of Ghana under the domestic gold purchase program is bereft of fact and common sense. This fallacy is anchored on the claim that, number one, the Ghana Gold Board participated in the purchase and aggregation of gold for the Bank of Ghana under the domestic gold purchase program in 2025. Therefore, Ghana Gold Board is responsible for losses under the program. This is their logic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gold Board's role under the domestic gold purchase program in 2025 was simply a continuation of the inherited role of the defunct PMMC under the gold purchase agreement with the Bank of Ghana, signed in September 2023, under which the PMMC served as a gold buying agent for the BOG. And today I brought a copy of that gold purchase agreement that the PMMC signed with the Bank of Ghana in September 2023, when Sammy Gyamfi was National Communications Officer for the NDC in opposition. This buying agent role was limited to only the purchase of gold for the Bank of Ghana on agreed terms. The PMMC or Gold Board fulfilled this obligation in strict accordance with these obligations under the 2023 Gold Purchase Agreement and fully accounted for all advances it was given in 2025, a total of about 133 billion Ghana cedi. That was given to PMMC, later became Gold Board, to buy gold as a buying agent, fully accounted for 133 billion Ghana cedis. The PMMC Gold Board and Gold Board had no role in the sale of gold by the Bank of Ghana under the domestic gold purchase program. It was not a signatory to any offtake agreements under the domestic gold purchase program. Neither was it involved in determining selling prices or sale terms. In commodity trading, profit is simply a function of selling price minus cost. The IMF states that the reported losses stem from the sale of gold by the Bank of Ghana, not the sale of gold by the PMMC. If the PMMC, which later became Gold Board, had no role in the sale of gold it purchased, then it cannot be said to be responsible for losses incurred through the sale of gold by the BOG, simply because it bought gold as a buying agent and was paid fees. In any case, the under-referenced IMF report says that the BOG incurred a loss of $400 million from gold sales under the domestic gold purchase program in the year 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, there was no Gold Board in the year 2024. Who then caused that loss? Can Afenyo Makin answer this simple question? If we are to accept his argument that losses under domestic gold purchase program are attributable to buying agents, then is Afenyo Makin saying that buying agents in 2024 caused the loss of $400 million? And those buying agents were the PMMC and a private company called Resafire. So why are they not blaming PMMC and Resafire for causing $400 million loss to the Bank of Ghana? Also, in 2025, the Bank of Ghana used a private aggregator called Resafire to buy and aggregate gold under the domestic gold purchase program from January to May 2025. Is Afenyo Makin saying that the private company is responsible for losses incurred by BOG under the domestic gold purchase program in 2025? Because Gold Board was not the only buying agent in 2025. The Gold Board Act was passed in April 2025. And we stopped private people from buying gold in June 2025. Before that, private aggregators appointed by the Bank of Ghana in the past were buying gold and aggregating gold for the BOG, just like PMMC. PMMC had no monopoly, and they were also paid fees. So is Afenyo Makin saying that the $400 million loss and even the 2025 $1.7 billion loss was also caused by Resafire? Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the paucity of logic in Afenyo's new claim is gradually becoming clearer to you. But now let's move to their second point. They say that the gold board was paid fees by a buying agent, as a buying agent, under the domestic gold purchase program in 2025. Hence, is responsible for reported losses under the program.